do you get a hem to look professional? Nice, smooth, professional looking hem. I have some tips for you coming up. So I teach a lot of beginner sewing, and we make a skirt in our first class. It looks like this, just simple elastic skirt, side seams, and we have to do a hem at the end. And I have a lot of my kid students, I have teach kids and adults, they don't want to do the hem, they just want to leave it raw. And I'm like, no, you have to do the hem because then it doesn't look finished. So a lot of them, they'll just kind of roll it up, and then if I don't get to them fast enough, I try to teach them that part, and then they're like, with another student, they start rolling it and they pin it and they just run it through the sewing machine. And you're like, no, there's a process to this. So what I'm going to show you today is just real simple hem. This involves these are straight edge hems. If you have like a curly hem and stuff, that's a whole different process. But this is just taking it from the raw edge, marking it up, putting creases in it with the iron. I'm going to show you some tips on that, and just getting a nice flat edge so you can get a nice hem. This is the hem we did on that one. I've taken it out a lot because I show them how to use the seam ripper in the class, so that's why I have no hem left on there. I got to re-hem this, but that is how the hem looks right there with the top stitch, and it's just a tuck under right there. I was today popping these out, showing people. This is actually a skirt that I made a while ago, and the whole hem is just a small 1-inch hem there, so it was just tucked under right there. And then this one actually goes off grain a little bit, which is harder to control. When it's straight grain, it's really easy. So if you're doing like a straight skirt, or pant hems are pretty easier to do too. So, but when you have to like curve and the fabric gets really curvy, it gets harder. But the goal is to have a nice straight edge like this, and then it looking like that on the inside right here. This one curls a little more because of the grain, but there's the whole trick with getting nice hems is in the pressing. Pressing it, letting it cool, getting a strong crease, rolling it under evenly, and then pressing again, and then taking it to the sewing machine. I have a lot of people that roll it, don't even pin it, they just start whipping it through the machine, and then it just gets all over the place, and at the end they have this wavy hem, and it just doesn't look professional. So if you're going to spend a whole hours and hours on a garment to get it pretty, you want the finished hem to look professional. So I'm going to give you a couple tips, also using different fabrics, because the fabrics make a difference in here. Polyester doesn't like to be pressed, and cottons love to be pressed, and other fabrics, I don't know, they cause you trouble. So I'm going to show you a couple tips. So before we start the pressing, we're going to press on a basic cotton like this. And we have a poly. This looks like to look at it, you might think it's a wool crepe or something, but it's a poly, 100% polyester. And polyesters, they're a little trouble. Then we have this fabric. It's like a cottony, rayon-y, stretchy gauze fabric with metallic stripes in it, and these pose a problem because you don't want to stretch them out and press it. You want to keep the little natural pleat in here. And then we have my least favorite fabric, and that is polyester. What do they call it? Poly charmeuse, or they'll call it, a lot of people say silk charmeuse, or this is charmeuse or silk, and it's not. It's poly satin, and you really need some control on this fabric. And then I have this sheer fabric. These are pretty easy to sew. I think this is a rayon or a poly. Sometimes I can't tell. I think if I burnt it, I'd have to do a burn test on it, but it makes a noise too. You can hear the noise. And this one, sometimes these are hard to control, but because trick is all in the cooling. So I'm going to show you how to use these thin ones. So let me show you how to work with each one of these fabrics. Let's use the cotton fabric first, because that one forms the strongest crease. It's the easiest fabric to work with in hems. So we're going to make a mark. Let's do a 2-inch hem. I wouldn't go any deeper than 2 inch. And if it's like a 3-inch hem, you'd mark it 3 inches up, and then you're going to cut off 1 inch off right here, because if it goes over 2 inches, it tends to just not drape really well. So let's do a 2-inch hem right here. I use either chalk or a friction pen. The friction pens, they look just like pens, but they iron off. I'm just going to use a regular ballpoint pen, which you wouldn't do on fabric, but we just want it to show really well. So I'm going to make some dash marks here, right from the raw edge to the end of here. So we have a 2-inch mark right there. And then we're going to press that first. So get the iron right here, or the ironing board, and then we're going to press right on the 2-inch mark. And then we'll press right here. A little. And with the cottons, you just have to let it cool for a couple seconds maybe, and then it forms a really strong crease. You can see you have a nice strong crease right here, and in that crease will help this to mold a lot easier. Now what we're going to do now is take this raw edge, take it to almost the crease right there. I call it 50-50, and then we'll roll it back under like this, or I kind of will tuck it all the way, and you kind of have to eyeball that this is now about 1 inch. So we go all the way to the edge right about here, because you have your crease edge here, and it should be right about there. You just tuck it under, so now it looks like that, and then you press that again, and then let it cool. And you don't want to be sliding like this. You actually want more of a press like this. Let it cool, and then I'll put pins right here in the direction I'm going to pull as I sew. Right there. So we take this out, put pins in the direction I'm going to pull, and when I'm sewing, I'm pulling the pins out. I'll be sewing close to the edge right here. Our next fabric has polyester in it, and it needs to cool longer for it to get that crease in it. It also melts pretty fast underneath the iron. So we want to mark on the right side of the fabric. So this is the right side, or pretty side up. Let's do a 2-inch hem here. We use a chalk. Get an accurate 2 inches. Then we'll put it on the pressing board. Fold it, get it right on the creases there. But before we press it, this fabric, polyester, will melt underneath the fabric there. So I'm going to use a press cloth, and it's usually press cloth is 100% cotton, because even polyester won't help it. And I'm just going to literally, you want to kind of get a thin cotton so you can see through it a little bit, and then just press it, and then let that cool. You can also use the pressing block right here and put it underneath to let that cool. If you don't have the pressing block, you can use the ham. This is like real dense wool in there, and then you just let it cool under there. And if you don't have any of them, just let it cool. Like with your hands just kind of right there, because they can get pretty warm. So now I've got a really strong crease right here. If I just ironed it, even I still have to use this press cloth because this really molds. And I just went like that, and I picked it up. You can see there's like no crease, and that would be hard to get this to lay right here. So from this point, let's use this crease here. I'm going to tuck it under 50 as I call it, just right that raw edge close to that fold. Tuck it under here, put the press cloth here, just work in sections, and then let it cool. And the time you spend here pays off, because then it's easier to sew. And just let it cool under there, because polyester is made out of plastic filaments, and it's literally like a polyfilament, and it has to melt to form. So now we have 2 sharp creases, and this will be, you'll sew it here, it'll be a lot easier. And we'll put pins close to the fold here. And then we pull them out as we sew, and then we're going to sew it right about like a 1/4 inch down from there. And the extra, there's 3 layers of fabric here. So you got the first, that under there, and then it makes it heavier, and then it makes the whole garment drape a little bit better, or how do you say, it puts a little weight down and keeps the garment laying straight down there. There's that one. Next fabric, we have this poly satin. A lot of people say silk satin, but it's polyester, this one here. This it's the polyester that it really melts. I actually touched the iron on the back side of this, and it literally puckers up and melts. So this fabric really needs a press cloth. Okay, so now we're going to mark this 2 inches. I'm actually going to not use the ruler from the cutting board here. I can see through it. So I'm going to do a 2-inch mark here. I can see the line right here through here. So that'll be our marks, 2 inches from this raw edge. Also, you can see this kind of cut right here would be hard to sew. So you actually, this fabric was torn here, and then this one was cut. So if these are all on the grain right, everything's a little bit easier. So now I marked it on the right side. I'm going to fold it this way. You have to turn your garment inside out. That's the easiest way to do it. I'm going to get it right on the fold. I'm going to put my press cloth over that. I can kind of see through it. I'm going to hold it there, and I'm just going to work in sections right here. Okay, so we have this right here, making sure it's right on my mark. I can see through it here. A little bit of steam. Try not to move it so much. Everybody wants to do this, but you actually just give it a little bit of heat. Most of the heat in the iron is right in the center there. Give it heat there, and these kind of polyesters, you really want to let them cool. Under the block or under the ham, cool. You can see I have a nice sharp crease right there. Wow, that one's crazy. Now let's see if I iron this. Still got to use it. If I just did a real quick press pass through, you have a soft crease right here. That wasn't too bad, but that'll be hard to press under like that. So in here I'm going to press this, put this 50-50 here, like that. I'm going to press, you see this one wants to get away. Just tuck it under. So now I have an inch under. Get a little press. Let it cool. When it cools for about maybe 20-30 seconds, then you'll have a strong crease. Yes, that's going to be a lot easier to sew right there. Let's see if I'll just finish this one up. I'll just let it, we'll press it real quick, and then not let it cool, and we have it kind of not as strong. It'll kind of bubble it. It's just this one it's going to be nice. You can see the difference. Nice and flat, and then a little bit rounded. Or this one will let the machine will kind of start to go off a little bit. I'm going to put some pins in here and see what happens. Sometimes you get away with it, but I know this one can really control it. It helps a lot better. Okay. This kind of fabric, this has probably got some poly in it. It's a blend. It has a natural gather in it, so we don't want to stretch it out. You want to let the fabric do its thing. So let's mark this 2 inches right here, like that. You're going to roll it on the right side. You're going to roll it up this way, and I'm going to make sure I don't press it like that. You just actually want to kind of keep the gathers in here like this. Let it be its natural self. And even sewing it, because sometimes right when you press it, these kind of fabrics get ruined, and we want to keep the kind of push them together, keep the fabric there. And also this fabric probably needs a press cloth also because it has a metallic thread in there and it can definitely melt. This here. You don't want to move it at that around much. That. Down. That. This doesn't have to cool as long because it's got cotton in it. And we'll tuck that under. Just trying to keep the natural gathers in there. But actually when you sew it, that will stretch too, so you want to kind of sew it, let it naturally keep its pucker. Now I have this chiffon-y fabric. I'm thinking this is polyester or rayon. Rayons fold and crease really well also. We'll see what this is. Let's say if we're doing a 1-inch hem here, I'm just going to mark this 1 inch from the raw edge here. This is the cross grain. It's torn, so I know it's really even. Like that. And we'll put this, that was on the right side, so then I'll press it up this way. So this is my right side, that's my right side. I'm pressing it into the wrong side. And this one I'm going to use a press cloth also because the fabric is thinner, it could be more dangerous. And I gotta hold my fingers down right here and try to get the crease started right here, and then take my fingers out. And then hold it for a second there. It's creasing well. I'm gonna go the rest of the way. Give it some steam. Just press it. We'll let it cool for a second, maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Get that first crease going. Yeah, it's got a nice sharp crease. And I'll tuck this under. So this is 1 inch, so we'd be tucking under half there. That. This is, the smaller they are, that's when it gets harder because it's like, you have to have nimble fingers. So the max I like to do is 1 inch, but you can do, there's a different type of hem. It's a fine hem where you actually press it, then stitch it, then trim it, and then stitch it again. I'll do another video on that one. This will let it cool. 5 seconds. Pull this up. Now I have a nice sharp, 2 sharp creases right here. Like that. And then I'll put pins in the direction I'm going to stitch. Right here. Use a stitch close to the edge right there. Okay, then all we have to do now is just sew the seams. And I've got the stitch on the, I have 4.0, which I'm doing it a little longer so that you can see the stitch at the end. I'm going to put it on it's just on the straight stitch. I'm just going to sew close to the edge. I'm actually going to follow this line right here and get a nice straight edge. I'm going to start here, reverse it. Actually, when you start stitching, if you're going all the way around, you don't have to reverse it. You just reverse it when you end. I'm just going to follow this edge of the presser foot right here. My needle is on the side. Some machines you can move the needles around. I'm just going to sew straight like this and take the pins out as I go. And this is nice and flat right here. That's what you want. Sew straight here like that. This is what I see a lot of people do. They take their fabric here and they just roll it, and then they don't know. They'll have like different widths of fabric here, and then it starts to wobble around like that. So you want to like do all the pressing first. That's that. So we'll take the needle up, and then you have a nice straight edge right here. And and then it's the back stitch right here that's going to show, or it's the under It's the bobbin thread that's actually going to show on this one right here. Now we'll do the brown one. This one, really didn't get this straight here. Start like that. And this one, it's really going to let it relax and try not to let it stretch out. And let the feed dogs take it where it needs to, and don't pull it. And the beauty of this one too is I can see the lines that they should, like this metallic thread is matching up with that one. That means it's not stretching out longer. Just let the feed dogs take it. And here it is with. Okay, so take this one up. And this looks like it went really well also. There, I kept some of the puckers in here. It looks good on the end there. Now we'll try the silky one. These are a nightmare to roll. This is the unpressed part. Let's see if I can, this one. Start right here. Got it started well. Just use the edge of this presser foot to get a straight line. It's so much easier when I got the pressed part right here. So off. And that looks nice and straight. This one has a little more puckers. It's not too bad. But when you get a nice crease like that, you just have a much prettier hem. Good, so there's a nice pressed edge right there. Reverse it if you need. Take it out. So real simple little hem. So here is the cotton one. I didn't bring it to the machine. And just press it, let it cool for a second, and then you take it from the back side here and you press it on the right side, you get a nice smooth hem right there. Looks really good. Now this is the poly blended one, and I'm going to press this on the right side also. This one turned out really great. This fabric melts pretty quickly. And again, now you press it from the right side, call it setting the stitch. And again, you got to really let this cool right here. And you can put the pressing block on there. Get it to form its final drape here. And this one turned out really great. This one looks good here. And we're going to, again, let this one cool naturally there. And that one's turned out really great. We still have those marks in there. They're little tiny tucks. This one has a little puckery look. See how straighter it looks. This is that one where we really got the creases in there. This fabric is so hard to work with. Oh, I actually never work with this fabric unless it's a lining or something. So you really got to let it cool. It always has a puckery look to it. So avoid this fabric if you can. Just don't like it. But it's looking pretty good there. This one has a lot of puckers in here, but we'll press it. Leave that one part unpressed. Let it cool. Under there. And lift it up. And nice and smooth. So see, it's looking really good. See, this is without it being, it has a little more puckeries and then has a nice firm straight edge. That turned out good. And now we have this one. This is with the 1 inch right there. This one turned out really good. This fabric must have rayon in it because rayon creases pretty well, but it likes to move on its move also. I'm gonna let that cool under there. And I pressed that from the wrong side, which you can do, but it's always nice to press it from the right side. But this one turned out really good. The green thread is molding right in there. But that's how that looks there, nice and straight, right here. All right, hem's complete. Those look really great. It all depends on the fabrics and also taking the time to prep them. You think it's like, I don't have time, I just roll it in there, but then you're going to have trouble and it's going to curl and get all messy. So it's good to just take some time, press it, let it cool, even if it's the cottons, just give those a little extra. And then, yeah, then you have a nice finished product. And I tell you, if the hem is all curly and bad looking, it makes your whole outfit bad looking. So, and that's also sometimes how things don't look professionally done, is the hem is puckery and curly. So this one turned out really good too. Nice fold up there. That's the 2-inch one. If it goes over 2 inches, cut off. It depends on the hem. Sometimes you just want to do the 1-inch one, which is just a little short one like that. You can do 1/2-inch ones, but then you're really tucking it under and having to let it cool. But the 1-inch one is, I don't like to go over that one because it makes it hard. It's kind of puckering in there. So I hope this helped. Just give your hems extra importance, because your whole garment won't look professional if the hem is all puckery. Mark it the right way. Get that first crease in there. Let it cool. Roll it under. Press it again. Let it cool. Put the pins in it to hold it, sew it close to the edge. And press it when you're done too, called setting in the stitch. I see a lot of my students are like, am I done? And I'm like, no, you got one more thing. You got to set in the stitch. Press it again. And they're like, those are the kids. The adults don't do that. But really, because sometimes you'll have like a little waves and you just want to set it. You're going to get the fabric to mold the way you want it to. So it'll look professional. And then the whole garment will look professional if the hem is really well. So I hope this helped. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and I'd love to hear if this worked for you. There's comments below. Leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next video.